So this is the ASUS ROG Strix Scar 15. It's the 2022 model. It comes with Intel's 12th gen processors. And out of all the gaming laptops from Intel this year, this one has had the best balance. Now this is a very gamer-focused first laptop. You can tell by the design, right? It's very subjective. It has the ASUS logo, which lights up, can be changed to different colors. You have the ROG stamp running across the laptop lid, which by the way is made out of metal, but the rest of the body is mostly plastic. And there's also an accent piece that you can personally customize. In the box, you have 3 different pieces that you can choose. Personally, I like the transparent one so you can kind of see underneath inside, but if you don't like any of them, you can custom print your own and then add it to the laptop later. It's about 5.1 pounds, which is not too bad, but once you add the power brick, the entire package goes up to 7.25 pounds, so it might feel a little bit heavier in your bag. Now, I did wipe off the lid of the laptop, but as you can see with the few touches that I have already done, it's starting to pick up fingerprints. So this is something you're gonna need to constantly wipe down because after a few days, it's gonna look absolutely dirty. It's not too thick. I'd say it's about same thickness or maybe a little bit thinner than the MSI GE76. You do have tons of ports to use. So for example, 2 USB ports on the left-hand side. You have your audio jack. You have your keycap dish over here on the right-hand side. And then on the back is where most of your ports are. So you have your power connector, RJ45, which is 2.5 gigabits. You have HDMI 2.1, which connects directly to your external GPU. You have a USB Type-C port, which supports power delivery up to 100 watts, and a display port. So if you also want to connect to the external GPU using USB Type-C, use this port. And then the final port is Thunderbolt 4. This will connect to your iGPU, so make sure you use the other one instead if you're hooking up a monitor. The laptop has a little bit of lid flex, but I'm not too concerned. You can open it up with one hand, and there's just RGB everywhere. You have RGB on the keyboard where you can customize every single key to your absolute delight. And then of course on the bottom, you have that strip that surrounds the bottom of the device. The keyboard itself is really nice. Like I really like this keyboard. There's about 1.9 millimeters of travel distance. It has a nice clicky feel. You have separate buttons on the right-hand side to control volume, pause, play, or even print screen. And then you have your macro buttons at the top that you can personally customize or change the fan noise or load up ASUS's Armory Crate. Oh, kind of small, but really cool. If you look at the Windows key, because the little square is transparent, you can see the keycap underneath and it ends up looking like a bullseye. I know it's tiny, but little things for my brain, okay? And then you have the sticker placement, which is nice and even. Sticker guys are doing their job. Massive touchpad, okay? It's glass. It feels good, but sometimes there's a lot of latency between the motion of your finger and the cursor on the display. There's times where it's working perfectly, and then there's other times where you'll just see a delay, and it's kind of annoying. They need to fix it. There is a numpad, but you have to activate it using the touchpad. As soon as you do this, you can no longer use the touchpad to move your finger around, but you have an actual numpad that you can use to enter numbers. Now, apparently this is customizable. There's a few other applications you could use with this, but I think it's kind of cool, right? Like they don't have space for it on the deck, so why not put it in the touchpad? I think it's a great space. Now, one drawback to this laptop is that there is 0 webcams on it, okay? There's nothing. And I understand it's a gaming laptop focused first, but gamers like to use their face to stream with, and gamers also do Zoom calls, right? Like a lot of people are buying this as their laptop to do everything, even though they're gaming mostly on it. There's not even a fingerprint scanner to log you in, so keep that in mind when you're buying this. The other thing is the display. I absolutely love it. This is the 240 Hertz display, and it has a 3 millisecond response time. It looks fantastic. The color accuracy is great, so you can game and do design work on this. It's QHD, it's 16:9, so it's nice and crisp. The only thing that's like average is the brightness. It's about 330 nits, which is fine for gaming, but it's not the best laptop if you're using outdoors. Now, performance is where this thing truly shines. It comes stacked with an i9-12900H, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. It has a RTX 3070 Ti that can boost up to 150 watts. The 15-inch 240 Hertz QHD display, and then you have a super fast PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD. Now I did a Cinebench test first just for fun like I always do, and this scored the highest multi-core speed I've seen on a laptop so far. Same holds true for the single core clock speed. I was blown away. In fact, the single core clock speed beat out my i9 desktop, which I thought was pretty crazy. If you're looking at this to game and do content creation does a very good job on this laptop. It scored very well. If you're doing Photoshop, for example, the scores are nice and high. And if you're buying this for more of virtual effects or After Effects rather, it does a very good job too. The one area that really shocked me was the Mozilla Firefox compile test. It did it in 14 minutes, which is the fastest I've seen on a PC laptop so far. Now, if you're a gamer, this is what you're buying this laptop for, right? This is strictly a gaming laptop, and it performs very well both at 1080p and QHD. I really truly feel that these laptops now are perfect for QHD gaming, especially if you're playing some of the more older titles or first-person shooters. To make matters even better, heat management is great. It does tend to stay a little bit hotter for longer than other laptops, but I'm okay with that because eventually it goes down to about 80 degrees Celsius and rests, and with that you get much better long-term and short-term performance because they're not as conservative as other manufacturers with some of their heat management, and I think they did a much better job of tuning it. When it comes to fan noise, I was really impressed. Some of the other laptops that I've reviewed recently have had some major coil whine. The fans get loud, but not as loud as other gaming laptops. Like if you have this on turbo mode, you're looking at around 52 decibels, which is not as high as 60 as I've seen on competing products. But if you drop it down to performance mode, which still does a really good job, then you can reduce how loud those fans become. And then of course, if you want a very quiet experience, you want it to hover around 40, you can just put it on the silent profile. As for the keyboard deck, it does get up to about 43 decibels, but usually around it. I've never once used this laptop and felt like the keyboard was getting too warm. The temperatures were always great. Now, sound on this laptop is not too bad. You have 2 tweeters on top and then 2 woofers on the bottom, and it does get pretty loud and it sounds really clean. It has good highs, not that much mid, but a little bit of bass. It's not going to beat out a MacBook Pro 16, but one of the better gaming laptops I've listened to. Now, getting inside is a little bit more difficult than your standard gaming laptop just because you have to be careful when you pry it open. Don't yank the lid off because if you do, you'll rip these RGB strip cables. Take it off very slowly, then remove them from the motherboard. And once you're inside, all the standard stuff is there. You have 2 slots for your storage drives. One is empty right now. And then you have a 1 terabyte Gen 4 drive, which gets crazy read and write speeds. You have a swappable Wi-Fi 6E card, which is underneath this drive. You can take it out if you remove this one. A big 90 watt-hour battery, and out of all the Intel systems I've tested this year, this is some of the better battery life, which is about 4 hours and 50 minutes. I know, not super impressive, but better than the 2 hours I got on other competing products. You have 2 slots for your RAM. Right now there's 32 gigabytes. The manufacturer for this DDR5 is from Micron, and this is rank 8. And of course you have your fans and then a lot of copper to cool the CPU and GPU. Now this system is being cooled using liquid metal, the conductonaut, or as I like to call it, the coconut extreme. So that's probably helping with those temperatures a little bit more than your standard thermal paste. The other thing I want to say is, as you can see here, as the review went on, the fingerprints have accumulated. So you guys will get a good idea of how often you'll need to wipe this thing down. But honestly, I love this thing. You know, this is a great gaming laptop. A few quirks that can be fixed with software, and of course, the dreaded no webcam is probably a turnoff for some of you guys, but in terms of performance, the way it functions and feels and how it acts, this laptop is absolutely awesome, and I'm looking very forward to see what else ROG brings out this year. Make sure to like the video if you liked it. If you're interested in picking this up, there'll be a link in the description down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.